CrossFit Open Workout 19.3. If you want your best score possible, then this is the video for you. What's up? I'm Ben, I'm from WODprep, and I'm here to help all of these scaled masters and RX athletes get their best score possible on CrossFit Open Workout 19.3. This video is gonna cover in-depth strategy and little things that you can do to try to get your best score possible. This is a great workout, and if you want more information on all the standards to make sure you're doing everything by the book, make sure you go to games.crossfit.com. Next, if you want WODprep's complete strategy guide, that means you're gonna get a warm-up, you're going to get a specific recovery flow that we recommend you do after completing this workout. Spoiler alert, this workout is very redoable, so if you wanna hit it multiple times in the weekend for some odd reason to get your best score, then the recovery flow is gonna help you improve. If you want all that, go to WODprep.com and download our strategy guide. We send an email. It's a free email that we send out with all of these great tips, but you can only get it if you sign up on WODprep.com. Now, you might be wondering why I'm wearing a cool flat brim hat. That is to support Project Alianza. I'm gonna share a little bit more about their story at the end, but if you like coffee, you need to pay attention. Me personally, you'll hardly see me without a cup of cold brew in my hand. Big fan of cold brew, and I never knew where coffee beans came from and the people's lives that are behind making this delicious elixir of youth. So if you wanna learn more about that and how you can help, then stay tuned when I talk about Project Alianza at the end. Let's dig into it. So here's the workout. It's fairly simple. You have 10 minutes to accumulate a lot of work. Now, in 10 minutes, most people are gonna find themselves running into a brick wall that is the handstand push-ups. For almost everyone, except for the older divisions of the scale division, everyone's gonna be doing some version of handstand push-ups, and that's pretty impressive. They want the scale division to still get upside down, and I love that. So if you're in the scaled or RX division, I'm gonna give you some tips specifically to help you hopefully break through that wall that is the strict handstand push-ups. But first, we need to cover a few things like lunges and also box step-ups. So for the lunges, for the RX division, we have overhead lunges. There's a few really key points that I want you to remember. Number one, with the overhead lunge, you don't have to have your arm locked out all the way, so make sure if you have a judge that's yelling at you for bending your elbow, tell them to go away. You're allowed to actually bend your elbow. I wouldn't suggest it. I would suggest locking your elbow out so that you can stay strong and stable and not have to fatigue your arms trying to support the weight overhead. If you're someone who's in the scale division and you're able to do just a front rack lunge, I'd be really, really cautious not to hold the dumbbell in a way that's gonna fatigue your shoulders too much. Try to get the dumbbell up onto your shoulder as much as possible, even if it means just kind of putting your hand on the head of the dumbbell to get all of that pressure off your shoulder. We wanna save our shoulders as much as possible for the handstand push-ups, which I think is the most important part of this workout. Number two, I would also suggest protecting your knees. 200 feet is quite a long ways. If you're someone who works out at a gym that has really hard matting, they have very, very hard floors, or maybe even still have concrete floors, this one's gonna bang up your knees a little bit. So for pure comfort and making sure that you can do the lunges without banging up your knees too much, I might even suggest wearing knee sleeves. You might look a little lame, you might look super duper CrossFit-y, and that's okay. If you wear knee sleeves, I promise you the lunges are gonna feel a little bit more comfortable. Up to you if you want to go down that route. And then the third thing I wanna talk about when it comes to the lunges is make sure that you finish your rep. It's very easy to get to the end where there's that finish line or that turnaround point. It's very easy to get half your foot or everything but the heel over the line. That is not good because then you have to do an entire extra step. If you do that each turnaround point, it ends up being a lot of extra steps. So make sure when you are going to step into that final lunge to complete the section, be sure that you get your heel on the other side of the line. Even if it means lunging, staying down there for a second and extending the front foot just so you're over the line, I'd rather see that than see you have to take a complete other extra step to get over the line. Personally, I'm probably going to switch the dumbbells at the end of each section just to try to keep my shoulders from burning too much. I think that's a pretty standard practice. If you're someone who really wants to cut down on your time, just switch the dumbbells overhead at the end of the section and then get right back into it. That's a great way to keep the shoulders fresh. All right, it's time to talk about the dumbbell box step-ups. This is a new movement and the standards are pretty simple. Just do your step-ups. Put the dumbbell in the easiest possible position for you to not fatigue your shoulders. Remember, After this, you have lots of handstand push-ups. So the goal here is to just keep grinding, keep moving, and get through the box step-ups as quickly, as efficiently as possible, because this is really the last point in which you use your legs. If your legs are burning, it's okay. Suck it up, buttercup. Keep moving, get through it, because once you get on the handstand push-ups, your legs will not burn anymore. Your shoulders will be on fire. So in the box step-ups, it's okay if you get a deep, annoying burn. I want you to keep moving, no resting here. When you're doing the box step-ups, your main goal, your main concern, other than not stopping, should be to fatigue your shoulders as little as possible. So personally, I think that I'm gonna go with some form of putting the dumbbell completely on my back or on my shoulder. So I'm gonna do, you have to probably have a hand on there. I think it's actually in the rules to put a hand on there to make sure it doesn't fall off, but I wouldn't grab the handle and hold it on your front rack. That's gonna blow up your shoulders. Instead, try to get the dumbbell positioned in a way that's just gonna sit right in your shoulder girdle, like kind of right in this crease, or you can even potentially put it on your back or somehow support it with both hands. Whatever you can do, try a couple different versions in practice and see what's easiest for you. But again, whatever you can do to save the shoulders and keep moving. Another thing I wanna mention when it comes to the step-ups is that I like touch and go. If you watch the announcement at all, if you watch the Buttery Bros go head to head, then you might have noticed that one of the guys, I believe his name's Herbert, maybe, sorry, I'm drawing a blank, but one of the guys was doing touch and go, where every single time he'd step up to the box, he'd come down, he'd touch his opposite foot and go right back up. The rule book states that you need to alternate legs each time. So what I would suggest is practicing a rhythm for your step-ups and just focusing on that rhythm. So for instance, here's a potential situation. You have the dumbbell on your shoulders, on your back, wherever's comfortable. You step up with your right foot. Okay, so right foot first, and then your left foot's gonna come up, you stand, and then if you stepped up with your right foot, you step down with your right foot, and then since you stepped up with your right foot, now you have to move on to your left. So it's right, right, left, left. So I'm stepping up with my right, stepping down with my right, stepping up with my left, stepping down with my left. When you do this, it allows you to do touch and go, where when the opposite foot hits the ground, it can just tap and go straight back up. This is much, much more efficient and much quicker than stepping down, trying to remember which foot you stepped up with last, switching positions, and then stepping back up. So I really want you to focus, try to find a rhythm. It's kind of like a dance move almost, where you step up and step down so that you can touch and go every single rep. You can see the difference between me awkwardly switching feet on the bottom and then sometimes the top and kind of not having my rhythm figured out, and then going a true touch and go. It's beautiful, it's poetic. So again, try to do touch and go. If you start to feel the burning in your legs, I don't care, keep moving. If you start to feel the burning in your shoulders, you can always switch the dumbbell from one side to the next. I just wouldn't rest. Just try to keep moving, keep grinding, get through this, and get to those handstand push-ups. Oh baby, it's time to talk about the handstand push-ups. This is where 19.3 is either won or lost. If you can crush the handstand push-ups, you will get a great score in this workout. If you hit a brick wall with the handstand push-ups, your score will suffer. So for almost every single division, except for a couple of the older scale divisions, you are doing strict handstand push-ups. So really quick, if you are doing the strict presses with dumbbells, just move. Go as quickly as possible. You probably won't need to rest too much. Just focus on going really fast. That's all there is to it, and you'll probably be able to get to those bear crawls no problem. Now, for the overwhelming majority of people who are watching this, a lot of people are probably going to be doing some version of the strict handstand push-up. For the RX division, we obviously have full RX ones, and then for the scale division, you have some sort of height underneath your head, so a reduced range of motion or reduced ROM handstand push-up, which I love as a progression. So number one, you need to be efficient at kicking up on the wall. You're going to have to do it multiple times. If you're someone that's never really kicked up into a handstand because you've always scaled heavily and never even gotten up on the wall, then guess what? You need to do some practicing. You need to practice just simply getting up to the wall and being comfortable there. We have a couple videos about it. Here's what it looks like if you go into the YouTube search bar and search for this specific term, then you're gonna find it. I'll double check to make sure I know what that is. And when you find that video, just practice kicking up to the wall nice and smoothly, nice and controlled, and get comfortable being upside down. Now, if you're someone who is comfortable upside down, let's talk about the handstand push-ups. There's a few key things that I want you to focus on. Number one, no matter whether you're scaled or RX, you need to leave a few reps in the tank. If you saw any of the people in the announcement, if you saw anyone do large sets of handstand push-ups that are strict, you always see people burn out very quickly. So you might see them open with a big set of 10 or 15 reps, and then all of a sudden they're into singles in a matter of a couple minutes. That's not what we want here. I want you to leave a few reps in the tank and then never let go. What I mean by that is, so me personally, if I tried to do a max effort strict handstand push-up, just unbroken, I could maybe hit in the mid 20s, maybe even 30 on a good day. But for me in this workout, chances are I'm going to come out with sets of 4, maybe even just sets of 3. By the time I get there, I might be pretty tired. So I'm going to do smaller sets and try to get in a rhythm. Just like I suggested doing singles with a few breaths in between and actually counting those breaths, I'm gonna recommend the same thing with the handstand push-ups. So for instance, you can kick up, do a few handstand push-ups, step back, 1, 2, 3, and then back on the wall. If you're someone who can do a lot more reps than that and you're feeling really good, you could ramp it up just a little. But what I would caution you is that unless time is really, really running down and you just gotta go, 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 go. If you're someone who has plenty of time to get done the handstand push-ups, don't burn out too early, because it's very easy to get 30 reps here and then hit a brick wall and you're doing singles for the next 20 reps. And then someone who's hitting sets of 3, slow, controlled, and methodical, will be able to keep going all the way through 50 and actually get to those handstand walks or bear crawls, depending on which division you're in. Another tip for the handstand push-ups is I want you to focus on head through. When you push your head through the window of your arms, you're going to have a much stronger lockout. I promise you, try it. I can't stand it when people do their handstand push-ups and they start looking at the floor. It's a very weak lockout. You would never do that for a strict press or a push press. Push your head through the window and you're going to feel much stronger on your lockout. Trust me, try it. When you're feeling tired, just think about the cue, head through, and all of a sudden that lockout's gonna be a lot easier. Tip number 3 for handstand push-ups is to use the entire box. The wider your hands, the shorter your range of motion is, the less you have to move your body up and down. So instead of putting your hands narrow, put your hands, personally, I think, all the way to the edge of the box. You can even have your fingers outside of the box, only your palms need to be on the inside. So for me, I'm going edge to edge, slightly externally rotating my hands, and then that is where I'm going to live all of my strict handstand push-up reps. If you're someone who's very comfortable doing narrow handstand push-ups and you feel stronger that way, that's okay. But for the overwhelming majority of people watching this video, almost every single person is gonna do better and get less shoulder fatigue the wider they're able to put their hands. So know your standards. Remember, your fingers can go outside the box. Your palms need to stay inside the box. Make sure your judges know that, and then stay focused, push that head through, and keep your sets small, and you will succeed on the handstand push-ups in this workout. Another extremely important point for strict handstand push-ups, please go touch and go at the bottom. Do not rest at the bottom of your handstand push-up. You lose all of your tension and it will be 5 times harder to press and lock out. I promise you, I've tested this 100 different ways. You can test it on your own in practice. When you do your strict handstand push-ups, lower yourself down, tap, and straight back up. Don't spend time at the bottom, because you're either gonna do a couple different things. Number 1, if you stay tight at the bottom, then your time under tension is way longer than it should be. Number 2, if you come down and then relax at the bottom and let your shoulders get loose, then you have to regain all that tension and press from the dead bottom. Just tap your head to the bottom and then lock it back out. Do not come down, relax, and then try to press from a dead bottom handstand push-up position. I promise you that will help you improve your handstand push-ups. It's time to talk about the grand finale, and that is handstand walks. Many people in the RX division are not going to make it here, and that's okay. If you're someone who does make it here, I want to leave you with a word of advice and caution. They're gonna suck. Even if you're really good at handstand walks, which I like to think I'm good at handstand walks, I know that when I kick up after 50 strict handstand push-ups as quickly as possible, when I kick up into my handstand walks, it is going to be terrible. It's gonna be weird. I'm gonna feel weak. I'm gonna feel wobbly. You need to expect that, and it's okay if you fall down. Remember, when you kick up, all you need to do is move 5 feet to accumulate that first rep. just getting that first rep is going to separate a lot of people. If someone can't do a handstand walk, they might get through their handstand push-ups and then hit a brick wall. So at least get that first rep, get that first 5-foot section, shake it out. My guess is that after you kind of shake off the cobwebs and get a few sections under your belt, so that just means a few 5-foot sections under your belt. You might fall once or twice because your shoulders are smoked, but if you take a couple deep breaths and gain your composure, you will finally get the hang of it and be able to knock out your handstand walks as usual. Granted, you will have a very fatigued core and shoulders, but don't be too scared if you start off really bad. I think you're gonna recover after just a few steps on your hands. So I hope that helps. If you're someone who is doing the scaled division and does bear crawls, it's kind of like those box step-ups. You just gotta do them and you gotta keep moving. You need to just keep that butt high and never stop. The bear crawls are gonna stink, they're gonna suck, but really it's just kind of a burn. There's not too much technique there. I would focus maybe on having your feet wide. I know when I've done bear crawls in practice, if my feet are really narrow, I feel like it's very difficult for me to move. But if I keep my feet wide and kind of bounce them back and forth, it allows me to move a lot quicker. Other than that, the bear crawls are just something you're gonna need to experiment with and see what feels the most comfortable for you in the moment. Remember, at the end, it is a fight against the clock, so you need to be very cognizant of when that 10-minute mark is coming and try to squeeze in as many reps as you possibly can towards the end, no matter where you are in the workout. So earlier in this video, I talked about Project Alianza. If you're someone who drinks coffee or loves the nectar of the gods that is coffee, you probably have used beans from Latin America. And in Latin America, a lot of the rural farms that provide a lot of the coffee that we drink is very impoverished. So I'm not saying this is a blanket statement, but there are a lot of families that live on these rural coffee farms that have kids that are very undereducated. And that is exactly why Project Alianza exists. And it's why I'm rocking this, wait a minute, hold on one second, this shirt. So if you're someone who loves coffee, I know I do. I drink a cup of cold brew every single morning, and I didn't understand where my coffee beans came from. But the reason Project Alianza exists, and the reason they're running a campaign for International Women's Day, which is today when I'm filming this, and I think when a lot of people are watching this, is because their entire initiative is to educate the children. They go in, they build schools, they teach people in these rural communities how to rise people up, how to get people up and educated out of poverty so that they can slowly but surely start to achieve equality. This is an incredible organization, and she's a friend who's near and dear to my wife and I's heart. And I promise you, if you love coffee, then you need to go check out Project Alianza. The link where you can buy this shirt and this hat and support the organization is below. If you're someone who needs a little extra tips when it comes to the handstand push-ups or the handstand walks, make sure that you go get our complete strategy guide. If you go get the complete strategy guide here, links are also going to be in the description in the comments, then we are going to provide a ton of resources. We have a lot of free content that helps people learn handstand push-ups, learn how to kick up onto the wall, learn how to get their first handstand push-up, learn how to get their first handstand walk. We can help you with that, but you need to trust us. Go get these free resources, and I promise you it's going to help you improve your score. We're also going to provide the exact warm-up and cool-down that we suggest for this workout, especially if you're hitting it multiple times before the weekend closes. Last but not least, thumbs up if you liked the video, thumbs down if you didn't, and I will see you next week for 19.4.